We have one communication from the mayor regarding the Hudson Climate Adaptive Design Phase 2 Final Preliminary Design Report. And now we will begin with departmental reports. And I believe that is Nick Piro on the Zoom. Nick, is that you?
Yeah, that's me, Tom.
Okay, go right ahead.
All right, I just got to get into my phone here. Hold on one second.
Okay.
All right, for the month of October, we had 37 calls for service, 2 fires. One was a kitchen fire, cooking fire. The other one was an outside storage fire. We had 4 motor vehicle accidents with injuries. We had 3 hazardous conditions, which were gas leaks. We had 4 calls for service, which include mutual aid to other departments, water problems. We had 3 good intent calls, which one was a reported structure fire, which was actually steam coming off of steps that were wet when the sun was beating on them. And we had 21 false calls between regular alarm activations, CO detector activations, things like that, for a total of 37 calls for the month of October. And as of today, I believe we were at 406 calls for service for the entire year.
Is that average?
We are a little bit above average. We've been at like 425, 430 the last couple of years, which is up approximately 60 to 80 calls from years prior. So we're going to probably be the highest we've been and as long as I can remember this year, if we continue the pace that we're at.
Okay, anything else to report?
Just everything right now is we've moved our reporting system to a cloud-based system, which enables us to do everything right from our vehicles. We have tablets in the chief's vehicles and the apparatus, and our chiefs and as well as our officers are able to fill everything out, all the state reports out in real time and get them submitted, which we have not been able to do in the past. So that's a big plus, and we're able to get the reports done, within 10 to 15 minutes of the call being done. So we're getting everything completed in a very timely fashion at this point now, which just started the middle of September. So that's where we're at.
Thank you. Any questions from council members? I don't see any. Any questions from the public? Okay, well, thank you, Nick. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Tom. Have a good night.
Okay. Good night. Next up, in person, is York, our youth director.
Close again. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to start as usual with youth center programs. So our number for after school programming has increased to about an average of 50 kids each afternoon for the after school program. Some kids only come a few nights a week, but it is rotating through to be a pretty steady average of 50 kids for that. 20 to 25 kids for teen programming, depending on what's going on. With the weather getting a little bit colder, we'll probably have more. We're also working on ways to use the space creatively, because with 50 kids, having them all in one spot is a little dysregulating for the kids and the staff. So we're having a lot of programs come in, going to separate areas, looking at some different spaces that we might be able to utilize regularly as well. So just to let you know some of the programs we're doing, we've got a literacy dance program we're doing with Elena Mosley and Operation Unite. Bindle Stiff Circus continues to do their weekly programming. Shaker Museum is coming in and doing an art program with our younger kids. Sylvia Center is coming in and doing cooking classes with the older kids after school. Boxing continues for all ages, and Rebecca Borer is coming back to the program after a brief hiatus. For those of you that don't know, Rebecca teaches various technology classes to all of our age ranges. Those classes range from writing, performing, recording, and mixing their own songs to writing, filming, and editing movies, and much more. It's a really great opportunity, and a lot of the skills she teaches are the skills that are needed for a lot of new professions now. So hopefully they're taking advantage of those, and they seem to have fun. We're also partnering again with the Art School of Columbia County out of Ghent, and they're bringing a mixed medium art class to our after-school program as well. A lot of different programming going on. Next page, just some of our students to come, see our staff of the month and our student of the month there. Fall soccer just wrapped up, so the 2022 YDSL Skills and Drills program, we had about 71 kids that signed up for the program. We taught soccer skills and games to participants aged 5 through 13. We even got the parents out almost every weekend to participate, which was fun. And our 2 head coaches, they loved the program and looking forward to coming back again next year. Thank you to all the families who participated and brought out their kids every weekend to play. And also thank you to Friends of Hudson Youth who helped get sponsors to cover the cost of the program. And then just some photos of the 3 different age groups and the coaching and some of the activities they did. This year we're bringing back the Youth Department Basketball League. We haven't done this since before COVID. We've already started registration for this program. If your child goes to school in Hudson and is in grades 3 through 6, they should have received a form from school with information. However, we know things get lost in the depths of a backpack. So if you need a registration form or you need information about the program, stop by the youth center or contact our program coordinator, Nakira. You can reach her at the center at 518-828-0017, or her email address is programs@cityofhudsonyouth.org. Just there's a typo in the report. It's org, not org. So we're running the programs on Saturdays from January 7th to March 11th in the junior high school gym. It's going to be skills and drills from 9 to 10, 3rd and 4th grade games 10 to 11, and 5th and 6th grade games 11 to 12. And practices will be set once teams and coaches are established. So if you are interested in helping coach or ref, please reach out to us at the center.
That's still going to be Tyrone head coach?
Say that again.
They're still going to be Tyrone?
Tyrone's going to be the head coach. Yeah, he and Nakira are partnered up to make sure it's successful this year. Community engagement. We had our first autumn open house this past Saturday. It was a lot of fun, a real success. We had families that were currently attending the program come. We had families that had never attended any programming or been in the youth center come. We've had some families move away recently for various reasons, and some of those families were able to show up, which was really cool. Parents got to meet staff, learn about programming that we offer. They signed up for the parent advisory board, played games with their kids. They were also able to meet several of our programmers, including Bindosif Circus and Rebecca Borer. We had all our games out for them to play, so that was a lot of fun. They also had the opportunity to watch some of the films that Rebecca made with the campers, not only this summer, but last summer. And it was really cool to see how those came together. You know, the kids write the movies, they do all their own filming, they do most of their own editing. They kind of lose a little bit of interest at the editing point during summer, so some of it's pretty raw footage, but it was really cool to see that. They put a lot of work into it. We also had signups for the basketball program, and a lot of people signed up that day. And Curb Dog Food Truck was there. They provided everybody who was either there participating or just passing by with free hot dogs, pasta salad, chips, and drinks. It was really cool, great success, and we're looking forward to making this a biannual thing. And so our next open house is planned for the springtime, and we'll let you know well in advance so you guys can all be there. And the next page is just some photos from that event. Oakdale updates. This Saturday, November 12th, we'll be having our final rewilding event of the season at Oakdale Park. The orientation will commence at 10 a.m. under the pavilion by the basketball court before we head out onto the trail. Don't worry, there will be snacks. So we hope to see you there. And as always, I want to thank Friends of Oakdale Lake, all the volunteers for making it possible and for putting in so much care and time and effort into this project. And thank them all for a successful season and look forward to get back into it in the spring. And we're gonna snow melt and show us all the things we missed. So. And the last thing I have is we are hiring at the youth center. We have 2 full-time positions that are open. Our cleaner position is open. You know, we've had a couple applicants for that, but we're still in the interview process if you know anybody who's interested. It's a non-competitive civil service position, which means there is no test and there is no list. So anybody can apply to this who qualifies for the job. It's currently $18.24 an hour. The position's responsibilities include caring for the buildings and grounds at both the youth center and Oakdale Park being mostly seasonal. We also have an opening for a secretary at the youth center. This is a competitive civil service position, so there is a test and there is a list. Currently, it's just a temporary position since the exam that was given in June, we do not have the results back yet, but we need to temporarily fill it. And there's a potential for it to be full-time if no one from the list wants it, and we'll have to submit for the test again. So that's a whole civil service thing, but if anybody's interested, have them reach out and we can talk about it. That is $19.33 an hour, and it's also full-time. And as I just mentioned, we're going to be looking for coaches and refs for the basketball program. So if you're interested in any of these positions, or you know anyone who might be interested, have them reach out to me at director@cityofhudsonyouth.org.
With this, excuse me, with the cleaning position, is it like license required? Is there anything required at all?
I think there are no minimum requirements, just experience and knowledge in the cleaning department.
Good to know.
Yeah.
And is it appropriate to ask who is the staff of the month?
Staff of the month is Rayvon Foster Smith.
All right,
He
all right,
is a
everyone.
junior at Hudson High School.
Keep it
and
up.
He's killing it.
All right.
Any other council members? Oh, sorry, that question is Vicky.
Yes, the programs we have, for example, the circus, the museum, how often do they come in a week to have the programs, and how do you pay them? Is it like a consultant?
Most of them are weekly. A lot of them are volunteers. So like Shaker program that's coming, Sylvia Center that's coming. Those are all volunteers.
So you
We
don't
have
to pay.
contracts through, no, we don't pay those groups. Yeah. A lot of people just want to work with us and offer their programs, which is
Every week?
once a week. Yeah. So it's really great. Other programmers like Fiddlestiff, we contract with them for the year.
Okay.
A lot of our programs are supplemented financially by Friends of Hudson Youth Program Line. So it's really, we're really lucky to be able to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Council members, any questions?
Liz,
Mhm.
so I got a text today. So what is the protocol for transportation? And what's the status for Wednesday? Because we're losing transportation. And today, apparently, they tried to get hold of youth department because the bus was going to be late or whatever. And apparently they couldn't get a hold of anyone. So what's the protocol?
So I actually responded, they tried Calvin first and then they emailed me. And so luckily I did check my email. They had bus issues, so they had to send a new bus and we're going to be late. Usually the county provides transportation through their contract. The bus company that is contracted with the county has decided to pull their contract from the county. They are not pulling it from the school, so the students will have transportation from school to program. We have until next week to figure out individually what our transportation is going to be for the programs while the county works on a new contract. I know they've reached out to a couple companies that they're interested in hopefully partnering with and getting a contract from, but we're yet to hear back. So we actually have a staff meeting to figure out how we are going to provide busing for our families from our program. We currently already drive about a dozen kids home in one of our vans because they're slightly off the bus route and the bus wouldn't take them. So
And these are local kids, right?
they're all
Out of
Hudson
city,
School
right?
District, yeah.
Well,
Yeah. So
Hudson
some of them
City
are out
School
in Greenport. But it's only a little bit out of the way, so we drive them out there. And we've got 2 vans, so we think that we'll be able to make it happen with 3 trips. A lot of our kids, you know, are right down on Front Street or at Bliss, so it should be pretty easy to get them home and then
If they
we'll be able
don't,
to do it.
if they don't live in the city, do they have to pay tuition to go to the youth center like they do at, supposed to do at camp?
We are not charging for anybody else who's in this City of Hudson School District currently.
That could reach Clawrick and Livingston, and everything,
We
right?
have told staff, we told a couple of families, we had a family that wanted us to drive to Culver, that it was just beyond our means to be able to do that on a regular basis. So we do within Greenport and Hudson.
Okay. Is that the plan though? Because I know the kids can get dropped off because the parents can designate wherever after school to be dropped off at center. So is it planned right now to do, or is DSS involved for transportation?
Right now, all of the after-school programs in the city, including, like Kite's Nest and everybody else, they're all having to figure out their own transportation. We're lucky enough to have vans, and the county is working on a long-term fix. They have offered, they can help finance vehicles if we need vehicles, or maybe help get a driver. But I did tell them, that we'll have to be a city employee to drive our vans. So if we can do it in-house, we can get it done until there's a long-term plan.
What do you mean to drive? So the other programs will use our vans to transport?
No, they will have their own. They're looking into getting a vehicle and a
Okay.
driver for each program.
But we're just transporting our kids.
Mhm.
No other program. Thank you.
Any other questions from council members? The public?
Hi, Liz. I have a question about maintenance that's set at the Oakdale Park. I know you're not there much anymore, your office is back on Third Street now, where you spend your time. I'm just wondering what kind of maintenance is going on at the park? It's kind of a big park, a lot of trails. I've noticed a few things that haven't gotten attended to lately. One being the missing step at the bridge in the back, which has been out for like 2 months. So it's kind of dangerous. It's had 2 steps and now it's only got 1, so it's kind of a big drop off. And I guess I'm wondering, does DPW do any maintenance? Is it all up to you, even though you're not there for the most part? Who does trail maintenance and that kind of thing?
Trail maintenance is done by volunteers, or if I notice a big project, I'll have someone come in and do it. I did notice that someone did remove the second step and put it to the side, so, we had someone come in and do that, and now we have to wait for them to be available and fix it. It'd be better in the future if people could not move things that they think don't belong in places. Or that they
Well, it's a park, these
think-
things happen. Plus, I noticed that it was actually a rotten piece of wood to begin with, so it's
I'd like
probably.
to answer your questions. but
Sure.
give me a space. DPW and I share the responsibility there. I let them know about the projects that need to be done, so they come in and do it. As I just said, we're out of cleaner right now, so, the person who walks around and picks up all the litter and does all the trash has moved on, and so we're trying to fill that role, and so as we're in transition, we're having that responsibility shared by DPW and youth department.
So
Okay,
you've known well, I tried to let you know about the missing stair and
Okay.
the bridge for about 2 months ago.
that's
I'm
enough.
just wondering when it's,
Go,
have any idea when it's gonna be taken care of?
you're done.
No.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Okay, the next presentation, let's see, yes, excuse me. Heather,
Hello, I'm just going to share my screen.
okay?
I can't see the screen.
No? It's right there.
Oh, thanks, though. Really? This doesn't matter. The public can't see the screen.
You see the screen, the rest of the public?
There's 3 rows here. Everybody should be able to see the screen.
Val, those are Val. Enough,
Honestly.
The move.
yeah, just move.
I shouldn't have to move. I'd like to sit back here. It's a pew.
Okay, Heather, please begin.
Okay, so pretty much just the usual suspects this month. As you know, the BEA has been actively working on the 2023 budget, so that's where a lot of my time has been spent over the past month. So we'll just talk about where we are here. So parking revenues, we're at 83.3% of the year through October at this point. And you can see that with the exception of parking tickets, we're looking pretty strong against our numbers, particularly in the Front Street municipal lot. That's really bounced back significantly from the COVID era where it plummeted quite significantly. Parking tickets is showing a bit of a better rebound now. I think we've discussed in the prior meeting that some of this for sure has to do with the fact that there was a conversion of the software, and it sounds like it's not gone as swimmingly smooth as the Parking Bureau would like, but it looks like we're getting back up to speed on that front. But overall, in terms of the revenue versus the budget projections, we're looking pretty strong on that front. And you can just see in the second sub chart, we're trying to get about 3% higher overall in 2022 than we were a year ago. So that's a good sign. Building permit and fees, basically the same thing. We're at or above trend on both of those at this point in time. So again, those numbers are looking good. And I think you'll see when you review the 2023 budget, we did take that into consideration in our 2023 projections. And again, if you just look at where we were through October 2021 versus October 2022, we're trending about 25% up versus prior year. Again, a reminder that both not only parking, obviously, but also building and plumbing permits were impacted during the COVID virus because of the limitations on people's ability to have, construction work going on because it required multiple people in a small space. So some of this is just rebounding from, decreases in 20 and to some extent 2021 as well. Sales, mortgage, and lodging tax revenues. The news from this one is that we did we did get our third quarter sales tax distribution from the county this month. It was about $582,000. So you can see that where we are right now is 1.758 million versus a budgeted amount of 2.3 million. So we're at 76%. That's roughly where we want to see it, because even though we're 83% of the year through, this comes in 4 quarterly payments. So we've basically achieved 75% of our income, and it's 76% in budget. We won't find out that last quarter until January or possibly early February of next year, but the numbers looking at least solid. Mortgage tax, we still have not gotten the second payment on that, so we're waiting on that. And you can see lodging tax has rebounded quite nicely. We're 140% of budget at this point. And again, if you look at the 2023 budget, you'll see that we took that into consideration as well and have a more aggressive assumption for 2023. And again, if you look at just the bottom little chart there, you can see that for sales track, sorry, that should read 3 of 4. I didn't change that one, my mistake. You can see we're about 6% higher than we were a year ago for the first 3 quarters of sales tax. Mortgage tax, we're a little lower than we were the year before, and lodging tax, we're up a little over 20% where we were a year before. So overall, 7% increase year versus year. So that's all positive. I don't have any resolutions. Actually, that's not true. I believe you have the EMS chargeback resolution for your review tonight. You'll be seeing at least 3 other ones before the formal meeting. You may or may not know this, but the city about a year ago entered into a citywide agreement with Joe Vining, who is our IT specialist, and it's basically a citywide service and support plan. There are a couple departments that did not remember to budget that, so we might have to make some adjustments for those. I'm hearing there still may be some energy transfers that may have to happen, but we may be able to make them happen with interdepartmental transfers as opposed to budget amendments. Still working on that. There's a couple other things that we start seeing every year around this time. Year-end shortages, rack space is one of them. There's who provides the citywide email. From an operational standpoint, we have, that should say 2023. The BEA meetings have concluded. You have all received the proposed 2023 budget from the BEA. And it's also been posted online along with all the original departmental requests for everyone to peruse at their leisure. And as you know, Mayor Johnson has called a special meeting to present the budget to the council on this Thursday. And the council president has issued a special meeting for the Thursday following that for the vote on the budget. As I think all of you know, when I issued out the budget, I said if anybody was interested in having sort of basically a walkthrough of it, because many of you were not able to attend the BEA meetings or the departmental ones, that I would be happy to do that. About half of you, I think, suggested that you'd be interested. So we can talk about that offline. I'm assuming, and feel free to chime in during the commentary section, I'm assuming this has to be after 5 p.m. because many of you have daytime jobs, and that's absolutely fine by me. Just trying to figure out the easiest way to try and coordinate multiple people's schedules. So any thoughts that you guys have about that would be greatly appreciated. And finally, we are underway with the 2021 audit. We got off to a bit of a late start due to some of the issues we've talked about throughout the year, particularly with GASB 84. But that is underway now, so I'm feeling pretty good that we will in fact get it completed by the end of the year. And again, we're working on that GASB 84 issue to this day and hope to get it completed before the end of the year. And that's basically all I have right now.
Thank you, Heather. Council members, questions? Vicky?
Hi, Heather.
Hi, Vicki.
Hi, so the building and plumbing permits, are they similar to what they were prior to COVID 2019? Or?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
They are similar, if not perhaps a little higher. And I would have to look at those numbers again to let you know, but they definitely did take a drop, particularly in 2020. So we are seeing them rebound. There's, as you know, with all the things that are going on, there's still a fair amount of new development and rehabbing going on in the city. So thinking that those numbers are still going to continue to look good in 2020 as well.
Yeah, I thought the 21 there was heavy in building, but maybe it wasn't as heavy. I guess 2021 wasn't as much building.
I think there were still impacts of COVID, even leaching into 2021. I think that may have been part of it, but, and I think, you know, certainly we've seen incidents where, while it may not have been directly related to COVID, i.e. they could get back to construction, the slowdown because of their projects, the increase in, you know, the cost of materials and supplies, the difficulty in getting labor has all seemed to have had an impact, certainly on some of the projects. So I think that's probably part of it as well.
Okay, thank you, Heather.
Other council members?
Hello, Heather, this is Malachi. Can you just add me to the list, the training?
Did you hear that, Heather?
No.
Malachi would like to be added to that session.
Oh, yes, of course. Absolutely, Malachi.
Okay.
Any other questions from the council members? Any questions from the public?
Bill?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Heather, I'm curious if there is, or if you know what the value of a metered parking space is in Hudson.
I think that we've calculated that a few times, particularly as related to shared streets. So, I mean, it's 50 cents an hour times 8 hours. So that's $4 per meter per day, except for Sundays.
So about $4 a day.
Yes.
So shouldn't the parking permits that the Hudson Police Department issues to allow somebody to occupy parking space, shouldn't the cost, the fee associated with those parking permits somehow relate to the value of a parking space? I mean, we want to get our money back that we're losing from not allowing anybody to park there, right?
Yeah, I think that's certainly a reasonable thing to evaluate. We do, as a city, look at the various permit costs and not just parking, but all other types of permits that the city issues from time to time. And I think that certainly would be a good thing to look at.
I'll give you an example of how I think it's totally, nobody's doing it. It's up to, apparently it's up to Ed Moore to decide what the cost of a
Make it
permit
quick, Bill,
is.
please. This is really going.
After
nowhere.
2 weeks,
Bill,
somebody can occupy up to 3 parking spaces for $10 a week. I figured it out. It's like 60 cents a day or something like that. So it has,
okay.
it has no
Heather,
bearing
thank you. Heather, can you
on
take your screen down, please?
the.
Your thing.
Please don't cut me off, Tom.
Okay, moving right along. Rob, are you ready?
I am.
Okay.
No. Okay. September's revenue for September was $40,800. We are on pace to meet the revenue projection for 2022 in that line item, which I believe was like 460,000. We're wrapping up with the Front Street project, and this is it's kind of hard to tell by scale, but this is a 20-foot deep hole, and the hydrodynamic unit, that's this blue circle, the target. It's something that's designed in stormwater systems to capture grit, so that way grit doesn't go into the receiving bodies. Also captures floatables like bottles, cigarette butts, things of that nature. And what happens is the flow comes down and it hits this this kind of wall here, and it separates. It actually discharges at a higher elevation than it comes in at, so that way the water goes up and these settables fall down, and then we use a vac truck to pump it out. So that's installed. We're pretty well up State Street now. State Street has had its challenges. We had this is a duct bank for Verizon. I believe there was a total of 5 or 6 conduit there, all 4-inch. So they had to, follow it along the trench for a little bit, and then we actually crossed the trench at one point. This is the structure, with a 48-inch storm line in it. And this over here was actually, I looked at it quickly, but it's actually the line from this catch basin that goes into the combined sewer. Obviously, once the new storm line was put in, this catch basin was now tied into the storm line, which is where it should be. So while we're doing the capital improvements and installing the actual storm structures, we're actually tying in those things that grab it as we go along, which obviously, is logical. So this is just, I know the alternate side parking thing is everybody's favorite subject. It's certainly mine. This happens to be a section of one street that doesn't alternate. And, you just see all the crap that builds up underneath the vehicles. And eventually this is just going to make its way down into a basin, going to clog the basin, maybe cause some flooding, or, just gum up the collection system in that area. Which is why it's important to do regular street sweeping on both sides. We also been doing some seasonal repairs. This is a catch basin on Columbia Street. It's just, we're trying to wrap up as much as we can. The mild weather is helping us tremendously. And so we're just trying to catch up. I know you've had the common energy discussion pretty much ad infinitum. This is showing you what kind of negative balances. So this is for the water plant. We're carrying a negative balance of about $16,000. That's money that we've paid to National Grid, that they've invoiced us, but that they refuse to charge again. We shouldn't be getting any bills. Sometimes we do, and sometimes we don't. Depends on how the common energy ties in, but then we get a bill from common energy. We're carrying, this is a sewer bill, we're carrying a balance of $28,000. So this is ostensibly a 0% interest-free loan to National Grid. It's good to be those guys, because they can use the help from a little city like us, I guess. We're putting out the annual chemical bids, and that bid is on the street right now. A part of the process is we evaluate different products before we call in the specifications. So this is called a jar test, and what happens is you've got these 5 beakers. Each one of them has exactly the same type of water, the volume. That's got those little mixers going on at the same speed. And then we inject a different dosage of polymer into each one of them, at which point, after a couple of minutes, you see how this one's still cloudy here on the left, and this one looks a little clearer, but it's got these little speckles all around it. That's called flock, and that's what we want. We want the things we're trying to filter, we want them to come together, get into like little balls, because that way it's easier for the filter media to grab it and take it out of our treatment process. So flocculation is an important part of the treatment process, and this is a polymer evaluation. So you remember we started talking about the seepage at the dam, and I first brought that to your attention maybe in August-ish. So over a couple of weeks ago, we noticed that it's no longer really seeping at all. In fact, this is the test pit that was full of water is now dry. We're not really sure what happened. We did inform emergency management, DEC, in the town of Taconic that at this point the seepage has stopped. But we already had a process in play, so we already had the Collier's engineer and a contractor from Western New York show up today. They're still going to present us with a kind of a couple of options. One would be if it pops up again, we would have a plan in place, or maybe just a way to do a further investigation and try and deal with it all together. You know, it's going to depend on what they think the efficacy is and obviously how much it's going to cost. But at this point, you know, it seems that whatever was going on is no longer the case. This is our water chestnut guy coming out, again, seasonal stuff, pulling it out of the reservoir. We did have an old grate. This is out at the forge. It's pretty well beat up over time, and you know, so it was time to get replaced, and so we got a nice new one here, stainless steel, and that was lowered into place. We did complete the pipe cleaning of the Taconic line this past month. So this is just one of the receiving pits. So what happens is there's a section of pipe. We take these two couplings, we move them forward, we roll this section out, and then as the poly pig comes along, floats to the top. And so we retrieve that, and then we pump it down, put the pipe back together, and then reconnect and send water again. So we will be doing the Churchtown line again tomorrow. We did it in the May after we retrieved that lost bug, not drama was over, but we used a lighter density pig, and we're not confident that it cleaned as well as it should have. So we have a new pig, and we're going to be redoing this process tomorrow. Just more seasonal work. You know, the crosswalks, this was the intersection was paved last year as part of our CHIPS project, and we did call in for crosswalk painting as part of that, but the paving didn't finish up until almost Thanksgiving, and the crosswalk guy, or the paving didn't finish till almost Thanksgiving, and the crosswalk guys were booked out, and by that point we had to close the contract out for the fiscal year, and so it just didn't happen. So the idea was to have a contractor do all of this, but we did have some material, so we've been, you know, trying to catch up with this stuff that was, you know, removed last year. This other seasonal work, this is just restoration of a excavation for a new water service on North 2nd Street, and you know, the contractor does the temporary restoration, and we do the final restoration. Again, there's a permit that they have to pay the city, and it covers the materials. Also going on, this is through Marshall and Sterling, who's the city's insurer, and they, you know, wanted us to do some in-house training for some, I believe it was risk management and driver safety. So we did schedule a block for them to have the crew show up, and that was a couple hours of training. Also, you know, this is just something we're evaluating. Most of the utilities have moved from using backhoes to dig holes to what it is. It's similar to the sweeper, the vac on the sweeper, but it has a high pressure hose. And what it does is that water pressure loosens up the material, and then the vac takes the material and the water away. It's a way to do excavation without having to damage other utilities that are in the ground. It's safer, it's cleaner. This is a insulated tip, so if you happen to come across power, you know, you're not going to get arced on. But you know, it's obviously it comes with its own price, you know, which is pretty significant. But we just, you know, the guy wanted to do a test, so we were interested in seeing how it went. It's, you know, it's something we haven't seen before, but it's, you know, maybe the wave of the future. We'll see. Also, so there's an annual contract with the someone for the boats and with the river docks. As part of that, they have to help us bring in the river docks. So here's Sam. We drop the gangway onto one of the docks, and then he ties it off to his boat and motors it down the river into one of the slips, so that way we can pull it out. Let's see. There was Promenade Hill. So this was posted in Gossips and was from Bruce Mitchellson and was originally in the Register Star from 1975. And you got a bunch of the old crooners here from the way back in the 70s. But one thing that's you'll notice is missing is there's nobody from the Department of Public Works there. And I figured I just address that quickly. Back in the day, the Urban Renewal Agency had an executive director and staff. And so they managed all these public projects, all the sewer projects, the sidewalk projects, the financing. They did, like had their talks about having 30 some odd capital accounts. They managed all of that as well, and then basically turned over the final products and final records to the city. Also of interest is the city agency that is there is the youth department. And that's because back in the day, all of these little pocket parks had little play areas with them. And so the youth department actually maintained them. So you see a young Dick Tracy right there, sporting it. That was pre-Olympian Dick Tracy. So anyway, this was basically what it looked like, back then. And of course, it looks a little bit different today. So there's just the plaza, the park benches, the steps, a little sideways. One of the things that, I just wanted to bring to everybody's attention is, this would end up being about a $2 million project. The city kicked in about 15% of that. That was a couple $100,000 in cash and then some DPW in-kind services. The contributions from Van Amergen and Colarusso was about $750. So they actually contributed 5 times more than the city did to a city project. So, it's pretty substantial, the size of those gifts and, obviously what they paid for. This is just some sidewalk stuff that I presented back in 2018. And, basically what I did is I came up with a rough estimate of the kind of miles of linear feet, miles of sidewalk, this is something I just did kind of from memory using the local highway inventory from DOT. So the whole idea, but also as part of that is we had a couple of individuals on community service that had to do an hour's worth of community service for DPW. So we had them walk the length of Warren Street, and every 10 feet or so, they were supposed to take a little measurement as to, if they found any cracks, or if they found any heaves. And what we did is we averaged that out over the length, and they did, almost 2/3 of Warren Street. Parts of it above 7th Street were not ever really addressed, or above Park Place were never done by capital projects. Everything below was done by a bond or some kind of project before. So it's trying to give us a little cross section. And what I try to drive home is that, of the ones that need total replacement, you're talking 14%. These numbers could be low because there was a certain amount of Warren Street in there, updated Warren Street. But the numbers for your total replacement are probably not as significant as just doing every absolute sidewalk citywide. A lot of it just needs to be fixed. Whether it's repairing of cracks or whether it's replacing a panel, whether we have somebody with a horizontal saw kind of trim it down like we did around the 7th Street Park, get that little terrazzo look. So there's a lot more in play than just a kind of a broad brush replacement. And let's see. So, and then updating the Ferry Street Bridge. So National Grid submitted their occupancy permit on March 21st. They didn't get comments from that permit from Amtrak until September 15th of this year. So, this is between Amtrak and National Grid. We try and put as much pressure as we can, but literally it's between those two. National Grid said they will not sign a utility agreement until all the permits are in place, including their Amtrak permits. So, this is just the same story. We have some traction. Assembly member Dee Barrett made some contact and got things moving. And I sent over a packet to the mayor, who I believe is reaching out to Senator Gillibrand to hopefully get some traction there, because New York State DOT is not going to allow us to advertise until all these agreements are signed. That's just the reality. And what we're talking about here is the new bridge is basically twice as wide as the existing bridge. So a couple of utility poles have to be moved 10 feet to the south. But that comes out of the city right away and puts it on that little corner parcel owned by Amtrak, New York Central, which is, adjacent to the train station. And so that's, on the west side, it's not that big of an issue because they're moving it onto city property. So we're like, yes, approved. But it's a tiny thing, but it's significant, and it is what it is. So anyway, that's what I have.
Thank you, Rob. And you shared that sidewalk material with the legal committee and the sidewalk project?
I did, yes.
Council members, questions for Rob?
Yes, hi Rob. The Ferry Street Bridge, I don't think I remember when was, do we have a deadline for that one? And how much money have we gotten from the state?
Well, I just described that we do not have a deadline because we need permits signed from Amtrak, National Grid, and then DOT has to allow us to post. So there is no time frame right now.
Everything is on hold with,
And
okay.
as far as money, we started out with a 600, bridge was closed in 2014. I think in that same year, there was a $600,000 capital reserve from the Common Council. Maybe the next year received $985,000 from the Columbia County Transportation Advisory Committee, of which I'm a voting member. The next year or so, Dee Barrett, I believe, got us a $2.2 or $2.5 million member item in the budget. So that's turned into state transportation improvement money. We do also have some state touring route money from DOT, that a portion of that can be used towards bridge decking. This originally started out as a $3.2 million project, but now we're afraid that it's going to go over $4 just because it's taken so damn long. But we won't know until we know, and that's just the reality of it.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other council members? Anyone in the public?
Yeah, Harry, I have a couple of questions if I could about stop lines and busy intersections and crosswalks. Specifically, several busy intersections in town that have no paint anywhere, no four corners, no stop lines. I guess I'm wondering why some intersections in town have stop lines and many don't, especially many busy intersections on Columbia Street. Like, are stop lines optional? Are they important? What's the deal?
Well, in order to have the stop lines, you have to have the materials, and in order to have the materials, you need to have the money. So, there's not an infinite supply of money to pay for stop bars and crosswalks. So decisions are made, and those that are in the commercial district, typically go first, and then their stop bars go in different areas around the city as we can. We use what we use. We use what we can.
So
Next question.
Sixth and Columbia.
Next question.
I'm asking the next question. Sixth and Columbia has no crosswalks, no stop lines. It appears there never has been one drop of paint in there for drivers or pedestrians.
Question?
If there was never, and you've been working for 10 years
Okay,
now, has there ever been a stop line in the intersection of Sixth and Columbia?
I don't believe so, no.
So you haven't found any money
Okay.
in the last 10 years to do that, is that correct?
That's correct.
Because they're not important, is that correct?
Well, Bill, there are things that are important, and there are things that are not.
And stop lines are which one? Not
Okay,
important?
Bill, that's it.
Are they not important,
You're
Rob?
done, you're done.
Rob, hello?
Rob,
Tell us
thank you.
they're
All
important.
right, Auf Wiedersehen.
Yeah, he's gone.
They're not important. Stop lines are not important in the city of Hudson. At Sixth and Columbia on the truck route? Are you
Okay.
kidding me? There was just an accident there the other
Okay.
day.
Thank you.
One more accident. Add it to the list. Who cares?
Moving right along.
No money.
Oh, Chief Moore, yes, you're up next, sir.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Always hard to follow Rob, especially when he talks about flocculation And his videos, his upside down videos, but anyway, we had a good month here at HPD. First of all, the required reports, the mayor got the copy of the mandated body cam review. 120 body cameras are randomly reviewed with no instances of misbehavior or inappropriate actions by the officers, which is good. The report, the mandated Section 9 report that all the council members got shows that for the month of October, we had no instances where use of force was used, hence no need of mandated reporting by fellow officers. We had 47 arrests for a total of 69 charges. EDP calls were at 11. And if you look at the last page of the report, they weren't centralized in one area, as you might suspect. They're kind of spread around the city. And good news to report is there was no instances of drug overdoses or fatalities for drugs in the city for October, so that's a good thing. We had a good month. At the end of the month, we had the Ghost of Gallup and the Halloween parade, which were very safe and no issues there. I did forget to mention the criminal arrests. If you review the report, the only spike was in trespass complaints at 11, which is high. That's correlated to the arrests of several people known to many of our citizens, perhaps from businesses, folks that we see hanging around the park a lot. So we had quite a few arrests and rearrests of those people for trespass. The only other unusual number was we had 2 DWIs for the month. Rarely do you see 3 or more, so 2 is a good indication of DWI enforcement for the month of October. As I mentioned, we had the 2 big events at the end of the month. The one down note we had for the month was the 24th. We had that very bad industrial or workplace accident in Long Alley with a dumpster, and a subject was killed. So that's been duly reported to OSHA, still under investigation. That's all I have right now, Tom.
Thank you, Chief. Council members, questions?
Yes, Tom, can you hear me?
Hi, Margaret.
Yeah, hi, Chief. I just want to return to an ongoing issue that is going on at pretty much at the corner of First and Warren. I know you're aware of this. Where we have a homeless situation.
Homeless.
Yep. We have behaviors that are antisocial, to put it mildly. We have a business on the corner of close to the corner of First and Warren, where customers are walking away because of their sense of unsafety, what's going on. So can we talk about that a little?
Sure. Now, are you referring to Betty down there at First and Warren?
I'm talking about the business at it's just up from First and Warren. It's Dish. The business is called Dish. The owner is Peg Patterson.
No, it wasn't. No, the person or persons you're referring to,
Oh,
homeless.
I don't know the names of any of the people.
Well, I
that-
mean, okay.
I
So,
no, I don't know. I actually don't know any knows of, no, I don't know any of that. All I know is that there's a bodega at the corner of First and Warren, and right beside the bodega is a business. And my constituent has been in touch with me about the fact that, there's a garbage can in front of her house, in front of her business. which has become a kind of a I don't know, place to convene. And she has customers who are walking away because the situation is so threatening. And so I don't know if you're aware of this situation. I just want to know what's going on there. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, yeah, I think you characterize them as homeless.
Well, you know, homelessness is not a crime.
Right.
That is not a crime.
Right, but that's what you said. They were homeless people, right?
Homelessness is not a crime.
No, I know, but you mentioned when you were describing the situation down there, you said there's people gathering down there that are homeless. There's no homeless people that I know that are down at First and Warren. I'm down there every day.
Are you aware of an individual who is holding court in front of her business on top of a garbage can? And you know, strewing garbage everywhere, threatening people, shouting at people. Are you aware of any of that? She has people coming to her store who are walking away because they are afraid to come into her business because of what's going on down there.
What's going on down there is we can only enforce the laws. Would you like me to go down and remove the people?
I cannot say that to you. I would like to meet with you and talk.
Sure, I'm here. It doesn't have to be conducted at this meeting. I'm here every day. The fact of the matter is we know everybody that's down there. We know a lot about them. I was talking to them just today, as was my patrol. So yeah, I would invite you to come in and discuss this with me. I'll tell you exactly what we can and cannot do.
What I would like to do is meet with you. I would like to.
You don't have to wait for a meeting. I'm here every day.
No. What I would like to do is just go down there with you.
Sure.
Observe quietly.
No problem.
Right? Just quietly observe and see what exactly is going on. And see, because we have a situation where a business can no longer operate because customers are walking away because they're afraid. And whatever that is, I would just really like to just stand on the other side of the street with you and observe and see and think, what can we do? Homelessness is not a crime.
Agreed. No, I'd be glad to. I'd be glad to spend any time you want.
Let's just, what I would really appreciate is if you and I could meet, if we could just hang out down there, observe, and think about what the situation is.
Yes.
Margaret, the situation, this is Malachi. How you doing, Margaret?
Right.
I think the situation that you're referring to, or is it?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble.
I think the situation that you're referring to, it was an individual that's been down there, but they're not down there anymore because there's not an abundance number of homeless individuals down there. I think the person or your constituent was probably referring to one individual that was there for a period of time during the summertime, but I don't believe that they're there anymore.
No, actually, sorry, is that Malachi speaking? Sorry.
Yeah.
Malachi, this actually was happening in the last 3 or 4 days. So yeah, no, I understand. I know what you're talking about, but this individual is back. And
Margaret, I think as you're gonna learn from the chief, there's limited, I mean, people with disabilities still have rights. And I think there's
exactly
there's gonna be limited things that the chief can do.
That's
unless
exactly
there's
right.
a law being broken. If the store owner is feeling uncomfortable, I mean, that's something if, or in danger, that's something else. But, there's limited things that can be done, lawfully, legally, because people with disabilities have rights to sit on a garbage can. And so it all depends on what she's doing or what they're doing illegal, that what can be enforced. So I don't think her, and I know Chief has no intention on performing harassment, because he knows he's limited on what he can do. And that's just a sad case of our mental health system.
Yeah, we spent, Tracy Roberts spent a good deal of time with the one particular individual we're talking about just today. And I went down there and observed that. But no, Margaret, of course, anytime you want to observe with me, we can go in my car and we can sit there as long as you want.
I would like to do that because I would like to actually get a sense of what the situation is. I think there are some mental health issues here. I think there are social services type situations here. And I would really appreciate being able to just sit with you, observe, see what the situation is, and see what could and could not be done. Chief, I would really appreciate that if you're willing to do that with me.
Thank you, Margaret. Any other council members have questions?
No,
Yeah, Chief, how you doing? Malachi Walker.
Yes, sir.
I said my whole name, like. No, but coming off of, we've discussed it, coming off of 4th onto State Street, that stoplight, it really is a dangerous, situation there. I've encountered a couple of times where I had some, some close calls, and I know it's been brought up recently. And, I think that we definitely should maybe put a, no right on red sign up there. I think that'll benefit that area.
Yeah, Malachi, I went up there after we talked, and I'll bring it up tomorrow with the police commissioner about ordering the sign. No, I think you're talking about no right on red there. So you would not be able to go right on red 4th onto State. And, you remember too, I'm sure, Malachi, that there was a sign there when the John L. was open.
Yeah.
No right on red, school hours or something like that. So I think that's an easy thing to address, and I will report back to you at very least by next meeting.
Thank you, Chief. Yeah, I believe it's, during the day, you can barely see the change of the light. So I think people are guesstimating when to go. So that's making it, dangerous. But thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Understood. Thank you.
Hi, Chief, it's Vicky. How you doing?
Hello.
That the stop sign by the tennis courts on paddock, when do you think we can have that?
Oh, the paddock request. Yes. I went there with the commissioner on the 27th, and I will check to see if he's requested the stop sign. We sat there and looked at that one. I'm sure I know what place you're actually talking about, next to the corner paddock, next to the tennis courts. Shane and I checked it out, and pretty sure he's requested a stop sign there.
Great.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Any other council members? The public. Bill, Maya first. Sorry.
Hi, Chief. This is Maya Reed. I'm 415 State Street, and thank you very much for speaking with Malachi about the intersection of 4th and State. It's something that I brought up with you last week in a note. So that's really good news. It's a very tricky intersection because short and 4th offset each other. The other thing that I did want to bring up is the intersection of 4th and Columbia. Is an intersection that I, as a resident, have observed multiple accidents, very similar, somebody coming up Columbia from the west, heading east, and hitting somebody going up 4th. And I actually got to have that experience recently, unfortunately. And one of the questions I have is about visibility. That's a long stretch of road with many, many traffic lights, unlike a lot of our intersections in town. I'm wondering, it just occurred to me, could those lights have strobes, making them more visible? A flashing strobe that there is a stop.
So Maya, just let me get it right. So you're at Fourth and Columbia and you want to go through or turn onto Columbia, right?
You want to go straight on Fourth. You're at Fourth Street. You're on the south side of Columbia.
Yeah.
You're heading straight up towards the former library,
Yes.
and people coming up Columbia, going east, hit cars going through that intersection on green. I don't know the reason. The reason of mine was she said she didn't see the red light, but that's neither here nor there. It's this idea that Columbia Street has lots of traffic lights. This particular intersection has multiple similar accidents every year. I've been in that location for 18 years. It happens a lot.
So the recommendation would be for some kind of strobe to make the light more visible.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I will report back to you. I'll talk with Shane, and there might be other options too.
Absolutely. I'm just trying to think constructively about that intersection.
Yeah, excuse me, I had a constituent came up and said the same thing, and they said what they feel it would be very beneficial is if we have a flashing light in that particular one where you had your, so, because they're all the same, like when you keep coming, they're all green, but then they're turning and people think it's still green, although it's yellow, red. And then if the flashing, I think it will bring more attention for
Yeah, so
sure.
the strobe is.
I don't know how hard it is to do that, but.
You'll have an answer. If I don't contact you during the month, you'll have an answer by this meeting next month.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Bill,
Yeah, I'd like to
questions,
I'd like to make a comment and then I'll have a quick question. Chapter 305 of our code, it's the vehicle and traffic code. It's the only chapter in the entire code that talks about signs, trucks, cars, traffic, okay? Chapter 1, authority of the Commissioner of Police to regulate traffic. Signs for turning, safe roads, truck routes.
Okay, Bill, we know this, Bill. No, I'm not holding on.
Authorized annual parking.
Okay, thank you,
The
Chief.
the chief of police is not mentioned in the chapter. Why are we asking the chief of police about traffic
Good
matters?
question, which is why.
If he has no authority
No,
on the matter,
you want me to call the police?
how? Is he still there to answer the question?
No, that's hilarious. He actually did
The
say.
commissioner of police.
Yeah, be quiet for
Why
1
isn't he
second.
here? Why isn't the commissioner here to answer these questions? Why is the chief saying, I'll talk to Shane, but Shane's not here, is he?
But he did tell us.
He has
he
no
would get
obligation
back
to be
in
here.
touch with us.
The code says.
Okay,
it's up to
moving
the
right along.
commissioner,
Bill.
not the chief.
Bill,
But he won't answer the question, will he?
okay, the next order of business, we have, where are they? There's Allison, I guess. We have a presentation from Assemblage Landscape Architecture in the Hudson Climate Adaptive Design Report. Allison, are you gonna be speaker on this? You're muted if you are. Hello? Interesting. Allison, once again,
Would be Wendy. But
yeah, there's no Wendy here. That's odd.
Allison, yeah.
Who's Allison then? Is she part of it? Okay, maybe we'll just skip that then, if they show up. They could also make their presentation at next week's meeting. Okay, in that case, let's go to resolutions. Shaheen, please. First resolution. Appointing commissioners of deeds. Can I have an introduction? Amber, and a second? The woman. The next is a resolution accepting technical assistance being offered to develop a vulnerability assessment and climate adaptation plan. You got it there? This is part of something being done on the county level, and we're just saying we'd like it too. Can I have an introduction and a second, please? Oh, I see, I did skip one, sorry, you're right. Okay, but we'll do this one. I did skip one. Introductions and second, go on. Vicky. And going back one to authorizing a chargeback by Columbia County for Greenport EMS services, simple chargeback. A introduction and second, please. Amber. Second. Oh, did you kind of do it? I can't see. I gotta leave that this way. Okay, the fourth. And this is the people who are going to do their presentation. However, as you know, you were sent their final report a week ago, so you've seen it. And this doesn't really obligate us to anything, but it does say that we're accepting the report and that we would try to incorporate them in any future design for the waterfront. Can I have an introduction, please? The one and a second. Amber, thank you. The next is a transfer of funds to cover some senior center. Long day. Senior center expenditures. You'll see it's for lights and heat. So this is lights and heat. This has been a problem throughout the city because of the new contract, the relatively new contract. Can I have an introduction in a second, please? Amber, in a second. Go on. The next is accepting senior center donations. Can I have an introduction and a second? Oh. Go on. The next resolution is transfer of funds within the police department accounts for them to get a replacement vehicle. Go on. And Amber. And lastly, we're going to reintroduce the settlement regarding the Article 7 proceeding with the Galvin Initiatives Foundation. Can I have an introduction and a second? Go on and Amber.
Sorry,
Yes, Margaret. Margaret?
yeah, is this, sorry, is this in relation to the the determination that 612 and the theater should be not for profit? I'm trying to figure this out.
Yes, that's the one we had the special meeting about.
I'm sorry?
Yes, it's the one we had the special meeting about.
Right. So, are we voting here?
No, we're just introducing it for next week.
I'm sorry, my audio is not great. Am I
Next
having?
week. Yeah, next week we vote on it.
So this is about the theater and
Correct.
612, is that correct?
Yes,
And what are we voting on here?
we're not voting on anything yet. We'll vote on it next week.
Well, okay, so this is being presented to us and we're going to vote on, okay, fair enough, Grant, got it. Got it.
Thank you. And with that, we're done with resolutions.
If we have any questions for the resolution, do we ask now or wait for next?
Oh, you could ask, I'm sorry. But what do you want to know? We can discuss it now.
It's about, I'd rather discuss it now so we don't
Yeah,
discuss
yeah,
it next week.
Definitely.
It's the one of the Galvin although I express my opinion, I do think it's gonna be a good, it's important that whole corner to finish developing it. We're putting some money towards the 7th Park. I mean, there's some kind of revitalization of that upper Hudson, which I think is important to finish that corner and also have that beautiful building be, you know, bring back life to it. But I have an issue with the developer paying from the time he bought the building, they bought the building, to the time.
Didn't we go over this in that special meeting? I thought it
I
was
don't
clear that
remember.
you can't, there is no, legally, there's no, you can't prorate it like that.
You can,
It
it's,
cannot
it-
do. Yeah.
okay.
And I did do some work, is Michael saying?
Yes.
In terms of, it's not unheard of, and Michael, if you don't mind, maybe your opinion is very valuable, that a theater like that does host actors and everything that do performance, correct? That's not, what I researched is that's not unheard of, that's common practice, a lot of that is to provide residency, correct?
Right, it's not unusual these days for performance venues to also have housing for the artists that come and visit.
Correct, thank you.
Okay, any other resolutions, there were questions? about?
Tom, if I could make a comment?
Yes, you can, Margaret.
Yes. So I have no issue at all with the development of the theater. What I do have an issue with is the two-family property at 612 Columbia. No clear non-profit plan for that property has been presented. The initial plan was to raise it to the ground. At our last meeting, the lawyers presented that they were thinking of making it, in his words, a flop house for artists. Is this now going to be a non-owner occupied bed and breakfast? What exactly is this? There is no clear concept in my mind as to what 612 is going to be. I have zero problem with the theater. I have zero problem with that as having a, clear, there's a sense that this is going to be a not-for-profit utilization of this space. I do have questions about 612. And I think that we should not, first of all, we should never have been presented with this if the assessor had done what she should have done, but she didn't. And now we are confronted with this. And now I'm looking at, okay, the theater, that looks legit. What's going on with 612? I don't know. And so I am really conflicted because I could vote yes on the theater and I would have to vote no on 612 because there's no coherent nonprofit usage of that property that has been presented to the city of Hudson. I do not see why they should be given tax exempt status for a two-family home without a coherent plan. And I'm just really troubled by this situation.
Okay.
That's it.
So you want to speak to this? I thought we addressed this in our special meeting with our attorneys, but
Sorry?
I thought we addressed this in our meeting last week with our attorneys.
Oh, no. I think the lawyers laid out a very clear, I think they laid out a very clear situation, but I am still left, Tom, with the fact that for 612, we were not given a coherent plan, a coherent not-for-profit plan for 612. What the lawyer presented as, well, maybe it will be a flop house. Well, will this be a artists presenting in the theater will be given free accommodation? Will it be a non-owner occupied Airbnb, exactly what will 612 be? We don't know,
But it can't be an Airbnb because they
It's not gonna-
can't, that's a business.
right?
So a non-for-profit can't do profit.
If they do anything for profit, it becomes for profit
Yeah.
automatically. So that's not even.
But the thing is, though, we don't actually know what they're gonna do at 612. They don't, they do
Okay.
not know what they're gonna do at 612.
Crystal,
Initially, they were trying to raise it to the ground, turn into a
Cheryl's
permanent.
trying to chime in, Margaret, if you want to let her answer.
Yeah, sorry,
Just to clarify,
Oh, one time.
Hold on, but
Yeah.
we know they're going to use it for a nonprofit status or else they lose that status. So we
Right.
know that it has to be used for a non-for-profit as discussed in that meeting where that very nice lawyer was with us on a Friday night.
Right.
As I.
And I will bring him back for the meeting next week. so-
sorry, Crystal, what were you saying?
well, essentially, just to piggyback on what Amber said, yes, the plan that was proposed and what has been proposed, the lawyers have reviewed, is short-term housing for staff and actors in relation to the theater, and that it has been presented as part of the nonprofit organization that's associated with the theater, and that's why they would be entitled to that tax exemption status. And that's what the lawyers that have been handling this matter for the city have reviewed and felt that have been adequately presented to them in order to make this recommendation to the council.
So Crystal, thank you for that. The short-term housing that they're presenting, is this going to be at cost? Is that the idea? It's not going to be a for-profit?
I don't have the specifics on it. I just know that it was something, this was the narrative that was reviewed and vetted by the city's council in making a determination and a recommendation that it is associated with the nonprofit purpose. Now, obviously, if that changes in the future and they start running using 612 for a profit business, then they will lose their tax exempt purpose. But for right now, that is what has been reviewed and recommended by the city's council on this.
So Crystal, that is all I need to know. Thank you very much for that clarification.
Thank you, Crystal.
So with that, Tom, I have no further objections.
Thank you. And we'll vote on it next week. Further questions from the council members? Okay, let's open up to the public. Public, online, anyone? Okay, Bill, you get to make your final statement.
Final statement of what? You probably all know that there's issues with parking meters in this town. Some of them are so old.
Bill, can I stop right here? We're in the middle of a parking study that's examining that in detail. And you
Why are
were
you
even,
interrupting me? I'll
hold on a
stay. I've already
second.
done.
You were even interviewed for that study. So you've had your chance to make your views clear.
So I came here tonight hoping to ask somebody, what department, who is in charge of maintenance of our meters and the parking lots? Who is that? Does anybody know? We got a guy that empties the machines of quarters and maintains them, but who does he work for?
Motion adjourned, do I have a second?
Does anybody know?
Amber?
Oh!
All those in favor of adjournment, please.
Aye.
signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.